Welcome to the Launch Author Reveal, a talk show where we go between the pages of the book, behind the words, and right into the heart of the author who penned them for the intimate reveal of the book's backstory. Book lovers get great reads and giveaways, and authors get revealed during Q&A. Now, here's the Launch Author Reveal host, Michelle Chudy.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Launch Author Reveal. This is Michelle Chudy, and I just want to say thanks for joining us today. We are going to have so much fun today. I'm talking to not only a best-selling author, she's an international best-selling author, and she's also a health expert. So perfect timing right after the holidays, right? So I just want to give a shout out for those of you that are joining us via webinar. This is the Launch Author Reveal, and we are going to go behind the pages into the heart of the author to get the backstory today on Crushing Your Cravings. And this is so funny because not only is it right after Thanksgiving where we probably have feasted ourselves silly, we are also in a position where we're preparing for the gift of Christmas. So perfect timing for Derreth Teixeira to come on, and she's our author that I want to share with you today. Not only do I want to share her with you and her backstory, I want you to fall in love with her because not only is she a best-selling author, she's hysterical. I enjoy her so much, and I know that you're going to love her too. So if you were on via webinar, please sign in and let me know that you're here and where you're signing in from. And if you have questions, this is a live talk show, so this is where you have a chance to come in and engage with the author. So if you have questions, please go ahead and just, drop them into the chat, and then I will moderate them for you. And then if you're on Facebook, gosh, love that you're watching us live. And I just want to say, share. Tell your friends about the Launch Author Reveal because we're giving away free books today. And not only that, Derreth is going to bless us with something amazing other than just the free books. She's going to give away a couple signed copies too. So let's go ahead and let me tell you about this amazing woman that you are getting ready to meet. And let me tell you about her background. She is an international best-selling author, and she is also a health expert. I like to call her a body communication expert. She's a body whisperer because she goes in and she literally will help you to understand what your body is trying to tell you. So her approach is authentic, it's passionate, it's funny. She's so funny. She has a humorous approach in everything that she actually does. And it's also laced with a straightforward information-based response that gives you actionable steps. So she doesn't overwhelm you with data. She doesn't tell you all the factoids about being healthy. She just gives it to you straight, and she gives it to you real because she wants you to be the best version of you. It's her passion. So she really believes that she's been placed on this earth to help women and just people just in general be, healthy and vibrant and live the life that they actually love. So, another thing too, it looks different from person to person. So she helps you to understand what's unique to you. Okay, so that is Derreth, and let me go ahead and bring her on because I want you to meet this crazy person that I call friend. So let me start her video here, and of course, unmute her so you can hear her. Welcome, Derreth.
Welcome. I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you, Michelle.
Well, I'm glad to have you on. So I wanted to have you talk about your book today, Crushing Your Cravings. This book, I will tell you that when I read books, I devour them. Some of them, if they don't engage me right away, I will strategically pause them. I'll, plow my way through, but I read your book so quickly, and I cannot wait for people to hear about Crushing Your Cravings. This is your book that went like international and best-selling status. So tell us, what's that book about? What did you want to accomplish with that?
Well, what I really wanted to accomplish is help people understand that we are so fearfully and wonderfully made, and our bodies are always talking to us. Always. We just have kind of shut it down. We don't pay attention anymore. And the diet industry has kind of taught us that, not to pay any attention to what's really going on, to restrict ourselves, to deprive ourselves, to do militant exercise. They've placed morality on food. It's good or it's bad. And I was in so much bondage with all of that. And the Lord finally set me free on this. And it was a journey. It wasn't just, a diet is I start today, I stop whenever, sometimes by the end of that same day, right? But, he brought me on this journey of what health looks like. And the biggest thing he taught me is that health isn't just about the body. To be healthy, we have to be healthy spirit, soul, and body. And what we have done in this world is torn it apart. And we put the body over here, and we work on that. We put the spirit over here, and we work on that. We put our soul over here, and we work on that, and we work on them all separately. And you can't do that. You can't separate your spirit, soul, and body. It's impossible. It's the way we were created. So I approach it from a holistic spirit, soul, and body. What is really going on? Because, if a craving is not coming from hunger, you're not going to find the answer in the refrigerator. So what's going on? Why am I craving it? It's not that bad. I do know I called it crushing your cravings, but it's really, not letting them consume you.
Right. The one thing that I want people to understand about what you're bringing to the table, no pun intended, is that it's more than just crushing your cravings. It's understanding who you are and what your body's trying to tell you. Okay, so before we go down that path, I want them to really understand who you are, not only as an author, but as a person. I just want to give a shout out. There's people that are joining us via Facebook. Thank you all for, signing in. I see we have Rena on here. We have Jeannie coming in from Montana. And we have Mark coming on here from Kentucky. So you guys, do me a favor, share this if you're watching via Facebook. Let people know how amazing the Launch Author Reveal actually is, because we're giving away not only great reveals and going in behind the story, getting that backstory to get into the heart of the author, we're also giving away free books for you guys to share. And this message today that Derreth is bringing forth is so on point for where we're at right now, not only in holiday season, but I think where we're on point as far as caring about our bodies and caring about, our health to the point of, doing what we feel that we're called to do, fulfilling our purpose. But I also want to give a shout out, Derreth. We have people on webinar today as well. And Larry's coming in today, and he said, it's great to be with you guys this great day. And Larry, yes, it is. Thank you for coming back and watching. Billy Joe's on. So, this is a time that I want you guys to talk to Derreth, ask your questions, because you have someone that is not only a certified health coach, she literally gets the emotional aspect of your cravings too. But I want them to understand more about who you are, Derreth, as a person. How did you get to the point where you wanted to tell people about how their bodies operate and not just the food piece of it? Your why is very powerful. Why are you wanting to get people off the diet roller coaster?
Yeah, well, I am a recovered yo-yo dieter. So I've been there, done that, and there's no fulfillment. It's not lasting. I found myself in, overweight, depressed, anxious. I suffered with horrible anxiety to the point of medications, migraines. I loved the Lord, but I had no idea of the connection to my body and all the emotions and everything I was going through. I've gone through a lot, but one of the things that makes me passionate about this message is my oldest daughter is recovered from bulimia, which is a deadly eating disorder. And she was in rehab for it. And, it's been a really long journey. And that's where I started to really learn, or I should say unlearn, what the world had been telling me. And, that it's really not about the food. It's not about the food at all. And not just with the eating disorder. Of course, that's the extreme that you see.
Mm-hmm.
But most of us have disordered eating. And when I talked to one of the dietitians there, because even at that point, I've always just loved real food, what the Lord has given us to eat. And I tried to stay away from preservatives, chemicals. I really didn't like the taste. And I was concerned because here they are at the eating disorder facility and they're feeding them, macaroni and cheese from a box and all this processed food, right? And my head's going, blast, what are you putting in my daughter? So I went and talked to the dietitian and I said, this is hard for me to reconcile. What do I do here? And she hit me with such a hard reality that if you don't deal with the root, if you don't figure out what's going on, the eating disorder will kill her before macaroni and cheese will ever kill her.
Wow.
And I took that, and it's not just her, that's all of us. Stress will kill us before what we're putting in our body will do to hurt us. There's a statistic that 85 to 95% of people that show up at the doctor, their symptoms can be traced back to stress, anxiety, and emotional things in their life that they've never dealt with. And
that's crazy because you think about it, you're on your soapbox as far as the, the health nut in you. No offense intended, but using a typical term, and your daughter's in the hospital recovering from an eating disorder.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you think that trying to live up to a standard of what her mom has set in an expectation, do you think contributed to the eating disorder? Not to put blame on you, because that's not what I'm...
Yeah. No, that's a great question. Well, part of the whole thing is, I have 4 girls, and they were all raised in the exact same home with the same things, the same foods, the same philosophies. And she was the only one who struggled with this. So to that, I say, it's just how she perceived things. She was so struggling with how to deal with emotions and trying to find it and find her identity in food and in the way she looked, that anything, not only I said, but anybody said, was magnified into a very distorted view. So yeah, it was very difficult. It was very difficult because, I was somebody who, as much as I chose healthy foods, we baked. We still loved food. We baked. We had cookies. If you wanted something, it was going to be homemade. So we still had the sugar. It was just more controlled and not in every single thing. And so it was something that I struggled with greatly. What did I do? But
Sure.
Any comment I made, anything, she just saw it through that lens.
Right.
It was already distorted.
That's interesting because, as a life coach, my background, if you all don't know, in addition to talk show host, I'm a success coach and also a marketing mentor. But part of that success coaching is an integration between life coaching and business coaching. And one of the things that we noticed that, you can have 4 siblings in the same house growing up. And, your personality is something that basically how you take things in, those filters. You can have one kid that will turn out completely normal and the other one go, off the tracks and have all sorts of abnormal behavior. So it really comes down to your personal filters and how you take the information in. But, I'm looking at the fact that you have a strong why, that you love to bring wellness and wholeness into the person, but you're doing it because you've seen the good effects and the bad effects of using food as a weapon instead of something as a blessing. Do you think that's a good statement to say?
Yeah, that's a great statement to say because, we were given taste buds, right? We didn't have to have taste buds. Everything could just taste the same and we would all just eat whatever it is, but we were giving food to enjoy. And it's just, we've taken it and exploded it into, we use food for everything. If you think about it, we use food when we're happy. We use food when we're sad. We use food when we're grieving. We use food to celebrate. And it's almost like this obsession, and I even take it to the extreme where people, I'm gluten-free, I'm keto, I'm this, I'm that. They become so obsessed with food. And like I said, they attach morality to it. How many times have you ever heard, I was so bad this weekend? Well, why were you bad? What did you do bad? Did you rob a bank? Did you, what happened? And they're like, yeah, I had seconds on dessert. I'm like, that does not make you a bad person. You're not bad because you ate an extra piece of cheesecake. I mean, you just ate an extra piece of cheesecake. Now, what I would say in response to that is, that's interesting. Were you hungry? What made you eat the second piece of cheesecake? Did you enjoy the second piece of cheesecake? No, I felt so guilty. Like, no, girlfriend, enjoy it in every single bite.
That is so funny that you bring up the cheesecake, because we were just having this conversation last night about good parenting and bad parenting. And in my early days, before Hayden was actually at the point where, I would say that you could tell whether you're a good or bad parent, I was practicing on my sister's children. And so
I'm sure she appreciated it.
Yeah, I'm sure she did. Although we laugh about this now, but I was asked to basically stay in the house, make sure that it did not burn down while they were somewhere. I think they were on their first cruise or something. So my nephew was probably about maybe 16 or 17 at the time. So there's a 2-year gap between each of the kids, and there's 3. So there's Mitchell, who's the oldest, and then he has his 2 younger sisters. I had made a cheesecake, and there was enough for everyone's portion, and he loves cheesecake. This is his birthday cake. And so he came down and he ate his sister's cheesecake when everyone else was in bed. And I'm ratting you out, Mitchell, because this is so funny. So I was so frustrated with him. This is, I'm known by Shelley in my family, Aunt Shelley's way of punishing Mitchell for eating his sister's cheesecake. I had him run down the street to the stop sign, which was a far distance away, yelling at the top of his lungs, I'm a pig and I ate my sister's cheesecake. And in cadence, because, I'm a pig, I ate my sister's cheesecake. And if that wasn't good enough, I had him go and tell the neighbors across the street. And I had him go over and he rang the doorbell and he said, I'm supposed to tell you I'm a pig and I ate my sister's cheesecake. And of course, we laugh about that now. But, obviously, he ate more than his 1 or 2 pieces. Yeah. So I can see how that would cause basically therapy need and food issues later on. But so is there a moderation limit when you think that people actually cross over?
Well, I mean, I would be more concerned on why they're crossing over than that they crossed over. In all honesty, if you have, I'm sure every single person that's watching or will watch would say and raise the, would you like to be healthy and live the best possible version of yourself, spirit, soul, and body? Mm-hmm. Everybody would obviously raise their hand, but we don't do it, right? Sometimes we're just so overloaded. Sometimes there's 100 reasons why we don't do it, but I'm more concerned with what's stopping you. Why aren't you doing it? What's really going on here? And what I have found, a big piece of it, honestly, is we don't really know how to love ourselves well at all.
Yeah.
Because, take your scenario. You wouldn't sit there and feed your child, here, honey, have this whole gallon of ice cream. I know you're sad, right? And eat the whole thing. You would be like, no, let's talk about it. Let me help you. But we don't give ourselves that same grace or care.
Right.
Right. And why? That's my question. That's what I try to get to the root of. What's really going on that you don't you're shutting something out. Something's going on. And so what's really interesting for me is I can come in and look at the way you're eating, look at the things that are happening, and help pinpoint the deeper issues.
I love that about you. So, for those of you that are watching, this is the Launch Author Reveal, and we're on Facebook Live, and we're also on webinar. So I just want to let you know, Derreth, that Cynthia is on. She said this is an on-time message. We all need to read this book, but we also need to hear this. So yeah, you're right, Cynthia. This is an on-time message, because you can't do what you're called to do if your body doesn't function. And Judy is actually on as well. Judy Gordon, she says she can't wait to hear what's happening. Susan's on as well. She said this is really good. And I agree. You guys, if you're on Facebook, share this. Let people know that this is the Launch Author Reveal. This is Derreth Teixeira. She is a best-selling author, an international best-selling author, and she is a health expert. And we're talking about her backstory of crushing your cravings, which this book, I tell you what, Derreth, I read a lot of books. I do a lot of coaching. And so part of that coaching is I'm coaching authors as well. And I don't always enjoy the books that I'm reading, just to be completely honest. I loved your book. And your personality comes through. You're so funny. And I want you to tell the Mexico story before we get off of here. But one of the things with Derreth's book, Crushing Your Cravings, she basically puts it out where she tells you the why behind why she's so passionate about helping you to understand your body. I call her the body whisperer. She's a communication expert. She helps you to understand body talk. And it also is liberating because, keto, can't have bread, you can't have grains or whatever. Jesus is the bread of life, so it can't be all bad, right? You're supposed to, have certain foods. And Derreth has mastered the interpretation of body talk to not only understand the chemical reasons and the nutritional reasons, but also the emotional reasons of as far as like what your body's craving, not just what you're eating, but what you're craving, because you can crave something and not fulfill that. But Derreth, I want you to tell them about the licorice craving that you went through and what actually was behind that, because I think this is powerful.
Yeah. So I was out in Arizona, which is where I lived for 28 years. And my dad was very ill, where he had just passed away. And so I was there with my mom, and I was craving black licorice. I'm like, I am not eating black licorice. That is filled with sugar. This is not good for you. Like, this is not going to, I try to choose foods that energize me and fuel my body. Okay. So, that's where I'm coming from when I say that. I'm like, this will do nothing but make me feel tired, crash. I'm not doing black licorice. And we're at the store, and I was drawn to the black. It's like, you're getting black licorice. I'm like, forget it. I know enough. I don't know what's going on, but I'm getting this black licorice. I go to the bin. I'm putting in the black licorice. I'm eating the black licorice. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm not that huge of a fan, but that was the best black licorice. And I just kind of really kept pressing into, why does my body want black licorice? What is going on here? Well, then it bubbled up within me, and it was like, that's right. It came to my memory. Black licorice actually helps with depression.
Wow.
And I had just lost my dad, and this was in November. And in September, I had lost my 8-month-old granddaughter, Abby. And so it's no wonder my body was craving licorice to just give me that little boost of something I needed. It was a lot going on in that time frame. I could have tried to beat it down because it's full of sugar and it's not good for me, and and use my willpower and not have the craving, or just be like, yeah, my body's telling me something. Step back and reframe it. And, cravings can be our gift.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I read that in your book, that I was blown away, one, because of the season that you went through. It's horrific to lose one person, but Derreth had a massive amount of loss in a short amount of time. History of depression as well. And also knowing that she has knowledge that she's trying to leverage and discipline but her body was telling her something completely different, and it was telling her exactly what she needed. And had she ignored it, she would have put herself in a greater deficit.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, if you guys are on Facebook, I see people are joining on live, and, thanks for joining. I see Shelly's on, Susan's on. We have Paul and Rebecca watching as well. If you guys have questions for Derreth, pop them into the chat on the webinar as well, because this is the time. This is live author reveal. This is what this show is about, not only for you to get a chance to get the free books, but also to get to, talk to the author and dig in a little bit more. I want to get to the backstory so you understand why they wrote what they wrote. And Crushing Your Cravings is not only a great read, it's funny, it's like relevant, but it is also so on time for, I'm 50. I'll put my age out there. I'm 50, and there's a lot of things that I have done to myself. I have been like the most unhealthy skinny person, and I have also been the most unhealthy, fatter person. So we're saying like fat, but you know what I'm saying? But you can be like really thin and be unhealthy. You can be, wherever you are on your weight. Your weight isn't an indicator of your health. But I think your cravings actually are starting to reveal the indication of your health. And it's that regulation that we tend to, discount. So the licorice story in the book, and it's in the book, when you guys read this, you're going to just be blown away by, one, how quickly you're reading through and how relevant the information is. But there is also a story in there. I was like literally in your panic mode as you were telling it. But you have to tell... not to reveal everything, but just give the highlights about the Mexico story.
Okay, so I have 4 daughters, like I said. My 2 oldest went to California on a trip with my oldest best friend. So it's 3 young ladies, 18, and I think and my daughter was 16. And they went for the weekend, and they were in like Huntington Beach. So if you know California from Arizona, you can either hit Huntington Beach or San Diego. There's 2 freeways. You just pick one or the other, and you'll get to Arizona. And so they were in Huntington Beach, and they had called, we're leaving, we're coming home. I'm like, awesome. Now this is before cell phones, GPS on your cell phones, and all of this. And I get this phone call about 3 hours in, and I'm thinking, oh, they're calling me. That's the halfway point. Because I said, let me know when you're halfway. We get this phone call, and my oldest daughter is panicked, and she's on the phone, and she's basically going, Mom. I'm like, what? Are you in Blythe? And she's like, no, I'm almost at the international border. And in my head is just kind of, you're what? And I said, what makes you think you're almost at the international border? Mom, the big, huge sign that says international border ahead. Okay, honey. Now, mind you, for her to do that, she had to go straight down the coast of California, and she was headed into like Tijuana, Mexico. So she did not get on the freeway. And she said, I can't get out. I can't get out. It's bumper to bumper. I'm like, you cannot cross the border. You've got no passports. You've got nothing with you. Like, they'll let you in, but you're not going to get out. You see, this is 3 young girls. It's nighttime. It's dark. They're getting ready to cross the border. My husband is just like, what's happening? And I'm trying to talk, and he's panicked. And she's like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, I don't care what you do. I do not care if you stop traffic. I literally do not care if everyone honks and yells and screams. You may not cross the border. Now, all I hear is panic in the entire car. And she's like, okay, Mom, I got to go. Thank you, honey. Hangs up the phone, calls back. And I'm like, what are you doing? Okay, well, I got off the road, but now what do I do? So we had to, bring up on the computer the map, and we did not let them off the phone until they were on the correct freeway that would take them back to Arizona. And now, guys, your journey just started because you're still 6 hours away.
The great thing about Derreth telling that story in Crushing Your Cravings, which is our best-selling book that we're doing the backstory on in the reveal, is that she makes that correlation to your health journey. And I don't want to take away the power of the story. But it's like when I read that, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like so on point about how we can get on the wrong path and start, categorizing food as, bad because, this diet says you can't have it and this diet says you can have it. And depending on which ear you're listening with and whose mouth is speaking, it's just like with money. You can, categorize it as being bad, but it really has no intrinsic value unless you abuse it. So, couple things I wanted to actually share, and thanks again. If you guys have questions for Derreth, pop them into the chat if you're on webinar. And then if you're on Facebook Live, share this. This word needs to get out, one, about the Launch Author Reveal, that we're bringing great authors in, but also free books for y'all. Derreth is giving some great information about, why we crave what we crave and how to crush those cravings and actually listen to what our body's saying. She really is a communication expert when it comes to body talk. And that's something that as we're listening to we call them diet mongers, and not to say that there isn't a place for a diet. I'm not saying that at all, but there is a time when we're trying to live outside of the bondage mindset of being tied to, you can't have this, and you can't do this, or you should do this, but listening and staying in moderation and also that balance, which is critical. So share this if you're on Facebook Live and tell people about this because, one, I want people to fall in love with this chick. Derreth is amazing. So funny. I love, love, love her. And you're going to love reading her material. Follow her on her social media too. I've never enjoyed someone's social media more than Derreth's, her Instagram and then her Facebook, Twitter posts, whatever. So Derreth, let's talk about these cravings and what they can actually mean because they intrigue me, especially when you talk about the nutritional piece. And then if it's actually rooted in an emotional response, that I find this intriguing because I've never really heard anyone talk about this from a health coach perspective. We were chatting last night, and I'm going to throw Hayden out as an example because she craves carbonation all the time. And I didn't realize that until she actually said that. And I specifically asked her if there was something that she craved on a regular basis because the kid, she has like severe allergies, like EpiPen-worthy allergies. So her diet has been restricted as a result of that. But when she said that she craved carbonation, that threw me because, there were times that I've actually craved that. But tell me what that actually means from your perspective.
Well, it can mean a couple of different things, which is why we want to start reframing what a craving is and not try to, push it down, strong arm it, because it could be nutritional. You could, our cravings come up for nutritional reasons, and carbonation could mean, you need some calcium. So from a nutritional standpoint, you can start with some calcium, but from the emotional standpoint, a carbonation could mean you need some fun, like the bubbly, it's just fun, right? It's, you think of the champagne, you think of all the bubbles, and it's just a fun time. So you could just need a little more fun in your life. You could have just been restricting yourself and not having fun, and your body is like, man, I need fun. And so you're not listening. So it's like, I think I'll speak up and have you crave carbonation. and it's different for everybody. There's no exact pat answer just because that's typical, atypical. It might not mean that for you. Carbonation could have a completely different meaning. So it's really learning to fall in love with yourself and listen to what your body's saying and what it means for you, because that might be what it means for me. Kind of like if you've ever tried to interpret a dream or looked that stuff up, the symbols typically mean XYZ, but not always.
And see, that's what I love when you actually started to go down that path with the emotional aspect, because when I said that to Hayden, I could tell that it resonated with her because this is a very stressful time for her. She's in the process. She owns her own business. She owns Southern Belle Glitz now, and she's a senior in high school and owns her own business. She is carrying a heavy weight load in grades. She's active. She was a cheerleader, all this other stuff, a lot of stress, and she internalizes things, applying for colleges, and she's in that zone of transition too, of knowing that she's going to have to step out into the adult world. And I know that she hasn't expressed this, but mom knows. I know that's probably weighing on her too. And when you said that about like the bubbly being, she's probably craving fun, it made me also think of Willy Wonka when they were drinking the fizzy drink and they're laughing, and the more they laughed, the higher they rose to the ceiling. I'm like, how spot on is that as far as like, you know, an emotional reason? So if you have something that, you know, when do you fulfill the craving and when do you just let it pass? Because obviously if it's emotional, it's not necessarily a nutritional need. Are you saying, do we like meet all the craving needs, or what do we do in that situation when it's not nutritional, it's emotional and not knowing?
Well, if you don't know, you don't know, right? But once you know, say, just take your daughter, for example, I would encourage her to get the fun in. What does that look like? What could you replace the food with to fulfill what your body's saying it needs?
Mm-hmm.
And it might not just take one time, you know, it might take a couple of times. And when we start fulfilling that emotional craving with what we really need, that craving will subside. And then there's times, you know, just have it. Like, I crave chocolate, you know, confessions of a chocoholic. I love chocolate. I still love chocolate. And we just had, I just lost a grandson in utero this past April. My daughter had to give birth. She was too far along to stillborn. And of course I was emotional. I knew it. I craved chocolate because that's a go-to. You know, your body and mind will go back to what it knew helped you. It's like a, you know, an automatic response, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's always known chocolate will help. So I started craving chocolate. I knew darn well why I was craving chocolate. I wasn't oblivious to it. And you know what? I went, I don't stinking care. I want my New York super fudge chunk, and I want it now. And I know that I'm sad, and I know all that, and it's okay. You know, I didn't drown my whole thing in it. I didn't actually eat the whole thing. I only actually needed a couple of bites, and it was just enough to like, okay, we got this. We can do this.
And I think that's great because you give yourself grace that
Mm-hmm.
you're not into the place where you're being so militant that you don't indulge. And I think that Derreth is one of the few health experts that you'll find that gives you permission to eat chocolate. She finds ways to feed you chocolate, which is great. You know, I honestly,
coffee.
chocolate coffee. So my little one, Karis, is a chocoholic as well. And she also craves sugar like crazy. I was diabetic with both my girls when I was pregnant. And I know that contributes to some of the sugar issues, but I am also a sugarholic and I'm a carbivore. That's something, you know, I'll eat meat if I have to, and I like meat, but you know, I like carbs. I want to answer a question here. Judy was asking about carbonation. Do you mean sodas? Yeah, it's not just sodas. Judy, it's just carbonation, everything. There's like these fizzy, sparkling ciders. She loves those. It's anything that has that carbonation gas in it. So that's basically what we're talking about. So again, this is the Launch Author Reveal. If you guys are on Facebook, you can post your questions in the chat. I am literally watching. So if you have a question for Derreth, you pop that in there. And by all means, share, because she's giving away free books. As a matter of fact, I am going to actually share her book link in just a second. She's going to do free downloads on this book. So if you're wanting to get a copy of Crushing Your Cravings, go ahead and leave your name and email into the comments. If you are uncomfortable on Facebook leaving it on, you know, the public side, you can always message my page. And because she's also giving away a couple signed copies of the print book too. So if you're on Zoom webinar, then you're automatically going to be entered into the drawing. But I'm going to give you guys the link to download the free ebook. And Derreth is so gracious. She's putting it up for free for 2 days so you guys can get your hands on it. So share this so everyone can benefit, because I know that not only myself, I'm on this health journey to recover what I've actually ruined in myself along the years, that there's people out there that need to hear this because of the season that we're in. So you're not going to feel guilty about eating, you know, a couple pieces of cheesecake. You're not going to feel awful about eating, you know, cookies at Christmas. And I promise I won't be behind you making you run down the street to the stop sign yelling, "It's your pig," I promise. Although I'm retired military, I promise I won't do that to you. There's a little drill sergeant coming out of me. I was a drill sergeant wannabe. But, you know, Judy's saying that this is, thank you, this is a must read, that it's really helped her. that she actually has the book and she said that it's helped her. It's one thing to actually say that a book is good. It's another thing to have the testimony on the backside of it that this has really helped. Mm-hmm. So, okay, Carbivore here, Miss Derreth, I'm going to put you on the spot. So back in the day, everyone has their Linus blanket. You've already hit on these comfort foods. It could be carbs, it could be whatever. Yours is chocolate. I used to get cans of icing and leave them in my cupboards because I needed a sugar fix. And I would sit there and literally eat spoons of icing at a time. And, on top of books being a Linus blanket for me and sitting in the library being surrounded by books, that icing was like a really big thing for me too. It's almost like I could not stand it unless I sat there and ate the entire thing. And my family will scrape their icing off their cake and pile it onto my plate. That's how bad it was. It's like, it's not about the cake for me. It's about the icing and not that yucky whipped stuff. It has to be the buttercream. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, there's lots of things. It can be, number one, that it can be your gut bacteria is off. Mm-hmm. If your gut bacteria is off, and I talk about this in the book in a lot more detail, it will change your taste buds, literally. Because each bacteria is at war to be the king of the hill, per se. And if the bad bacteria is prevalent, it's going to keep pushing you to feed it so it can keep growing and growing and growing. And one of the things it wants is sugar. So you will crave sugar. Mm-hmm. It makes it very difficult to stop eating the sugar. So that's one piece. It could be, I would say, gut bacteria. The second piece goes back to emotionally. If you're doing it doesn't matter what your comfort food is. It really does release the correct chemicals in your brain to make you feel better. That's why they're called comfort foods. So if you're eating it and you do get that relief, right? You feel great at first. And then, it's because you're not getting to the root. You're just kind of putting the Band-Aid over it. You're going to crash and burn. Right. You just kind of basically weed whacked the problem. And so it would be, as a client, I would ask you to next time that let yourself know it's okay. That's been a great thing. It has worked your whole life. It has helped you get through 100% of your worst days. You've made it through, and it has helped you. And come up with a plan, because if we don't have a plan for the next time, we're going to do our body. It needs it. Your spirit, your soul needs attention if you're eating it for emotional reasons. And if you just ignore it and don't have a plan in place, of course, you're going to go right for the icing again, because that's what your system knows to help you.
This is awesome that you're actually laying out these action steps that you put people on. And I'm going to tell you guys up front, if you're wanting a health expert who is just going to give you the traditional talk, put you on a regimen as far as like what you can and can't have, and put you in these constraints, Derreth's not the person for you. Nope. Derreth's heart is to help you to be spirit, mind, and body. But most importantly, you have to address the immediate need and taking care of understanding what your body's saying. The body whisperer, the communication expert, on body talk. I'm looking at how she is so helpful to get you out of that guilt mindset into a place where you're empowered to make, one, educated decisions, and then also something that you're giving your body licorice if it needs it. You're giving it, protein if it needs it. So this is something that's so important that we understand where Derreth's coming from. If you're wanting a traditional health expert where all you're going to do is you eat this, you cut your calories, you exercise, and that's all you get, you're not getting that with her. You're getting the complete package, because that's what her passion is. If my oldest had issues with any type of eating disorder, that's enough to strike a mom's heart to the point of paralyzing. So when I actually was talking to Derreth about why she does what she does, she said, I will never, ever advocate a diet, because it's not about that. And I'm just like, wow. And you're a health expert. It's almost like it's an oxymoron there. But so tell me how that passion pours out in everything that you do. How do you design your life around what you teach and preach?
Really staying in tune, understanding that I am spirit, soul, and body, and I have to feed all three.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to feed all three good things, that are going to nourish it. And that includes everything from what I'm putting at the end of my fork, what my body needs, because, what I need may not be what you need. An avocado, even healthy foods, just take an avocado, may give me all kinds of energy. You may eat an avocado and be like, I'm tired now, So we have been so trained to not listen anymore and just have someone tell us what to do with everything, honestly, not just our food. And it's getting back in touch with you. And I go back to, you are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yeah.
You're not made like me. It's not spirit, not soul, not body. And so what works for you may not work for me. So, and yes, I will help you, take out certain foods to just so that you can see, because it's your journey. And if I can tell you all day long that, sugar is not good, I think everybody knows and would say, yes, we all know sugar is not good. But do you know what it does to you? Do you know how you feel? Do you know how it's affecting you? Do you know why you're craving it?
Right.
Until like you said, it empowers you. It makes you free to make the choices. Like, I was very free to make the choice to eat my chocolate when I wanted it. And I still am. The holidays are coming. I am not going to starve myself in the morning because I may have a party at night so that I can binge and eat everything and like punish myself, and then the next day do militant exercise because I enjoyed myself. Like,
You just hit on something that's so powerful, and I just want to actually give a shout out. I see, hey, Colleen, she's watching on Facebook, and we still have our folks watching on Facebook. Y'all, this is the Launch Author Reveal. Please share this. Let people know that this is Derreth Teixeira. She is a best-selling author, and she's also a health expert and a communication expert on body talk. So great information here that people need to hear. She's giving away free downloads of this book for the next couple of days, but she's also giving away signed copies. So leave your email and your name in the comments, and then also, if you're not comfortable with that, you can message my page, and then I'll make sure that we get your name in the drawing. And then, of course, on Zoom, we're going to put you guys in for the drawing too. So you touched on a couple different things, and I want to talk about this as we're getting toward the end of our time here. That we're unique, we're each fearfully and wonderfully made, and that it's almost, this is identity based.
mm-hmm.
I mean, everything about this, and it comes down to loving ourselves well. Mm-hmm. And for those of you that are, church people or Bible people or just bottom line, Jesus people out there, there's a scripture out there that talks about, it's actually called the 2 greatest commandments, is that you can't love your neighbor well unless you love yourself well. You're supposed to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, body, and soul, and then you're supposed to love your neighbor as yourself. And what you're telling me, Derreth, is that in order to do what you're trying to do by helping people to understand what their cravings are about, that they need to practice self-love. It's self-care, and to take care of your body, it's an expression of self-love. Is that right?
Correct. Just as much as you would take care of your spirit as a Christian, the church going, and you take care of your soul. Taking care of your body is part of who you are. And, in our world, looks and perfectionism and photoshopping and just everything has put so much pressure. And, if you think about how we're so mean to ourselves, if you think when we look in the mirror, just think of a body part you're not happy with. All of us have them, right? But what do you say about it? For me, it's my legs are heavier. It's my heritage, whatever. It's the Portuguese. Gotta love it. And I could look in the mirror and get angry at them because they're not the size what I want them to be.
Right.
Or I could just be like, hey, it is what it is. And these legs carry me everywhere. My hips, I'm hippie. My hips are perfect for holding my grandchildren. Thank you, hips, and blessing my body instead of cursing it all the time. Oh, how many of us, oh, stupid, whatever, oh, look, I hate my fill in the blank. Would you say that to anybody else? But yet we're our own bully. We bully ourselves, and we think we're all so full of love and we're anti-bully, and yet we bully ourselves constantly. And, from a Christian perspective, we're the Lord's masterpiece.
Colleen says, thank you, hips. Yes, Colleen, thank you, hips.
Thank you, hips.
This is coming from the salsa chick that tries to make a salsa without chips. She's not from Texas. We know, what does she know? She's from New Jersey, right?
Oh,
So yeah, she invites us to come do salsa, and I was going to be a smart aleck and show up with a bag of
chips and salsa.
Yeah.
But this anyway, is salsa you do.
Yeah, but the thing that I think that is amazing about all of this is that it really comes down to that when we don't manage our body, it's a resource. Like anything else, it's like time, it's like money. Our body is a resource. It's a limited commodity, that we have a limited time in this earth suit, and how we care for it is important. And I'll be the first one to tell you that I have literally abused myself to the point where I push myself to the point where I don't, feed myself well, don't exercise like I should, or when I did, I was, self-punishing, because I was an athlete, and then I went into the military, and then of course, trying to maintain that, that image of the size 4'6" that I had before Karis, all that stuff. And there's things that I did to myself. And even now, I'll even short myself on sleep. And I know I'm sleep deprived, and you address this in the book. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because as I'm watching the order of these launch authors come out, Dr. Chad was on a couple weeks ago, and he's a PhD counselor. And he says that he makes people drink water when they come into their office because most people are dehydrated. You talk about that in your book. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing to me how much overlap that I'm seeing between, the authors coming onto the show. It is literally about knowing who you are, loving who you are, and then taking care of what you have in order to do what you're called to do.
Yes.
So I want you to make this real. Rena says, recent research shows that we are more harsh on ourselves than others. And I actually agree with that we are our own worst critics. And Colleen says that too, and that we tend to be really, really hard. And, I look at it where you're talking about the emotional reasons why we do what we do. If you have that underlying program running in your mind where you are self-condemning and also self-abusing, you'll do things without realizing that you're doing it. I heard something where that if you short yourself sleep, that you're basically taking years off your life. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? If you have an underlying wish to die and you're robbing yourself of sleep, guess what you're actually doing? You're trying to kill yourself slowly by doing that. And there, that psychological reasoning as far as the program that's running underneath. So, Susan says that she's on both platforms and you're loving the info. This is awesome. Thank you for being on both platforms, Susan, and also sharing. I love that you guys are helping to spread the word about the launch author reveal and also about what Derreth is bringing to the table here, no pun intended. But I want you to make this real, Derreth, because there's people that are living real lives. We're busy. Mm-hmm. We have a hard time keeping up with all, what's good, what's bad. So if you're craving something and your husband's craving something different, then you have a kid that has, a nut allergy. How do you accommodate all that in a real world scenario with a family? How do you plan? Because, there's some people that like to plan their meals. I am not one of them. I am very craving driven and I hate to cook. I'll be transparent. How do you manage that when you have someone that wants to be, forward planning, or you have multiple cravings going on? Let's make this real.
Yeah, that's a great question. I like to say, when it comes to my health journey and my husband, because I began this more as my kids were older, coming into the freedom and into this truth. I used to say, people would say, how do you do it? And I'd be like, well, my husband and I weren't only not on the same page, we weren't even in the same book. I mean, that's how opposed it was. Now I look and I shake my head, and he'll even make comments, I'm turning into you. And really what it had to do with was, well, first, I cook foods everybody likes. I'm with you. You would think with what I do that I would be the meal planner and the prep person. I hate all of that, because what if I'm not in the mood for that on that night?
That's me.
That's me. And if I plan it all and then I'm not in the mood, I'm not going to cook it. So what I have done is the things I do cook are usually very simple on a day-to-day basis. I have a lot of foods in my freezer that are thrown together. For instance, I have, and of course, I do organic as much as possible. That's my choice. And so I'll have like cut up peppers and onions in the freezer. We all love Mexican in our house. And I can easily make a chili lime fajita in 20 minutes. I also keep really good flavored sausages, like the chicken sausages. Those last for, more than a couple of days in the refrigerator. I will slice those up with some sweet potatoes, and like everybody loves them because I'm just cooking real basic whole food. And that's kind of how we've gone about it. And the more my husband has eaten that way, the more he doesn't like the other stuff anymore. His palate just changed.
Yeah, I've noticed that when I've gone on a fast and I've actually, stripped sugar out, or that's how I actually started to like stevia. I cannot stand stevia until I fasted. Went 21 days without any sugar, and it reset my taste buds, my palate. And then now I can't stand, very sugary drinks because I'm used to the stevia. So let me see if I can answer my own question and if this will match up to your words. I asked you, how do you accommodate everyone? And everything that you just said, you feed something that's nutritionally balanced.
Mm-hmm.
And
that means even, that means, so I'm putting a nice, good, complex carb in there. I'm getting a nice, good protein in there. I'm getting some vegetables and greens in there. And, hey, if they want a piece of bread and, they want a nice French bread, like I'm not going to be at war with my family. Right. This is my journey, and they get to have their journey.
Right. Judy actually asked, she said, isn't the sausage fat, and do you only buy it organic?
I buy, well, first of all, fat does not make you fat. You have to have fats, decent fats in every meal, because that's what helps you feel full and satiates you. And I usually buy chicken sausages because I like their flavors. And yes, I do buy organic.
And I will say something about that whole organic thing. And I know it's expensive. Not everyone can afford to use organic. And I've heard that, from people that have tried to go, clean eating, that the way the market is, it makes it hard for people that are having, more budgetary restriction. There was a season within the last couple of years of my life. And I will tell you, I have not been a big dieter. I've always been one that, normally I don't have issues with my weight for whatever reason. And when I have my babies, the weight sticks on. What I've had in 4 or 5 years, later it'll come off and I go back to my normal size. So Karis's weight has stuck on a lot longer, but I think that was self-inflicted. But I did do a season of Maximize Living, which is a great health program, but it's about taking the sugar out. It's about eating clean and all that. And I swear to you, it was not the sugar that caused me the biggest withdrawal. It was the pesticides. When I went clean and was going only organic and grass-fed, I think I had more withdrawal from pesticides and various things in my food and those chemicals than I did the sugar.
Yeah. And I try to tell people, and you can find this everywhere, and you can find it, you can just Google it, the Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen. Yeah. And it's the organization puts it out every year, and they test all these foods. And then I would say, if you can't do it, at least try to do the Dirty Dozen. And if that's something that's in your diet often, to try to get that organic. because the dirty dozen are the ones that are the most chemical laden fruits and vegetables.
Gotcha.
And start there.
Let me go ahead and share your book for people to see what it looks like. And I want to give the link for people to see this. And then also to hear about it. If you guys are wanting to get your hands on this book, and I highly suggest that you do, because one, not only is it great information, it's a great read. It's funny. Derreth is funny. I love Derreth. Derreth and I are friends. So I'm going to be transparent about that. I love this woman. So this book, Bestselling, internationally best-selling book, and you can get a free download for the next 2 days, and just go to https://amzn.to/2kbk9s as in Sam Z. And again, for 2 days, you can get your hands on this book and get the free download. You'll have the ebook and just love it. If you want to be entered into the drawing for a signed print copy, leave your email and your name in the comments on Facebook or message my page. Or, if you're watching via webinar, you're going to be put into the giveaway for this as well. But again, the link is https://amzn.to/2kbk9sz. And don't you love that cover? And the struggle is real.
Struggle is real.
All right, Derreth, my friend, we are at our time. And I just want to say thank you for coming on to the Launch Author Reveal. I've so enjoyed you sharing. And thank you for helping people understand what their bodies are telling them, and being that communications person to translate and just bring a relevant message of self-love and care. So
it is my pleasure. Oh, Billy Joe says, you say the link faster than I can get.
That's the good thing about this, Billy Joe, is that the link this is all recorded. It is going to be on Facebook Live, and you can go back and get the recording and see it there. But I will go in and post the link on the comments for people in Facebook. So if you want to jump off the webinar and go onto Facebook and grab it from there. This is such a great, great deal. The Launch Author Reveal is here to bless people with free books, great information. So y'all do me a favor, share this, tell your friends about it. Go get a copy of Derreth's book. And if you're interested in having her as your health expert and someone to help you to understand what your journey is about, she does coaching. She is available. So Derreth, how can they get a hold of you if they're interested in coming into, coaching with you and having that relationship? And how can they find you?
They can find me at DerrethTeixeira.com. And I do have some standalone products that aren't one-on-one coaching, but it's the same principle, and I walk you through it. You also can just send an email, Derreth at DerrethTeixeira.com, if you'd like more information. And you can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, Derreth on Derreth Instagram, and Derreth T on Facebook. So you can find me all over the place, trying to always be real, show you the good, the bad, the ugly on my pages, because you know what, that's life.
And I love that. You are authentic. There's nothing fake about you. And that's something that when you guys go out and start drinking from Derreth's well, you're going to get the real deal. And she's going to help you get the real deal with you too. So Derreth, again, thank you for coming on.
Thank
and
you.
Guys, download her book. I'm going to pop the link into Facebook so you guys can actually get your hands on and download. If you want to be in for the signed copy, leave your email in there on Facebook in particular. Don't worry about it on the webinar. I got you covered. So again, this is the Launch Author Reveal. And we're here to bring you not only great authors, but great stories to get your hands on great reads. And this is the thing that's so important. Every life is a beautiful story. And I want you to reveal yours and let it shine. And as Derreth says, say it, girlfriend. Shine
Until
on.
next time.
Yep, shine on. There you go. All right, you guys, I'll see you on Thursday, where we have the one and only Michelle Jones coming on, another international best-selling author. And if you're stuck, this woman's going to get you unstuck. She is a catalyst of progress. She is a catalyst for change, and not only just change, but great change in you. So tune in on Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're going to have Michelle Jones on. So, Derreth, I'll see you later. Y'all take care. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the Launch Author Reveal. And please share. Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks for joining the Launch Author Reveal with Michelle Chudy. Write a book? Get launched. Head over to launchauthorreveal.com. Every life is a beautiful story. Reveal yours and let it shine.
You could be larger than life.